URC round number 2, folks, or what was played of it, with all the stormy weather up in Europe recently. A couple of the games were called off. Edinburgh and Ulster, Connacht and the Scarlets games postponed. But for the games that were played, let's go through them. How are the standings after 2 rounds? Who would have thought ZEBvLIO's in the top 4, 2 from 2. Leinster down the bottom, not quite last, but second to last, with no wins from their first 2 games. Obviously, it's very early season. There are still guys on their break after the international season. There are still guys away with international sides in terms of the Rugby Championship teams. So yeah, things will certainly change, but after 2 rounds, it's been interesting. We'll go through them. You guys can let us know your thoughts. Stormers and Ospreys, I was going to get up to watch this one, but I was about 20, 30 minutes too late to get out of bed. So sadly, I've only caught the highlights of that one. 26-10. No bonus point, though, for the Stormers. They might be a little bit disappointed about that. They scored one of the tries of the season, the Similane try, in the second half. Was very slick. There was gas. There was sweet hands. There was a nice, quick thinking kick from Ruan Nell. There's an offload. It's like Sanatla, Nell, and Similane all combining for one of the tries of the season. If you haven't seen it, well worth checking out. Ruas got one from a cross kick as well, which was kind of brutal for the Ospreys guys as it took a bit of a wicked bounce, but the Ospreys did get the first try. Hardy got his first of 2, and then he got a second one to take the lead. One was a snipe and one was a great support line from a Kasende break out on the wing. So the Ospreys were right in it at the first half. They led at half-time. But second half, it's all Stormers. The Ospreys are scoreless. The Similane try, the Paul de Villiers try from a maul. Points from the boot as well. So yeah, no bonus point for the Stormers. I do feel like they'll still be a little bit disappointed. A home game up against the side which didn't make the playoffs last year. All the Ospreys have shown in both their games that they are, they're still pretty decent value. But still, Stormers would have liked a bonus point, especially seeing as they had 6 clean breaks to 4, 27 defenders beaten to 18. So yeah, there was enough there, you would have thought, for the Stormers, but still, take the win. Similane at fullback, finished with 8 defenders beaten, dangerous. Harry Deeves, the flank for the Ospreys, is 20 tackles, 27. So that's quite a shift from him. But yeah, ultimately no points come from that one for the Ospreys. They leave their trip to South Africa with just the 1 point from those 4 tries they scored up against the Bulls. Second match, as I said, postponed, Edinburgh and Ulster. I think they had pushed that back an hour, but then they called it off. So we'll see what happens in terms of when they can find a spot in the fixtures for that one. Dragons and Sharks, I actually did a full match review of that one. First full match review of the season for the URC was the Dragons and the Sharks. Absolutely pouring down at Rodney Parade. 17 points apiece if you want the full story there, but the quick version, 4 tries in the first half, 2 to each side. And second half, both sides will be pretty much cursing out their teams. The Sharks potentially for not taking a 3 maybe, or at least being able to punish a 14-man Dragon side, because they had absolute scrum dominance, the Sharks. They got one of the Dragons props yellow carded for repeated scrum infringements. Could they score during that period? No. Sharks didn't score any points in the second half. And then the Dragons, you were camped down the Sharks' end. Go for a drop goal. We saw drop goals in a couple of the other games. Why not go for it? It was absolutely on. They didn't go for it, so it finishes a draw, which breaks a losing run for the Dragons, but geez, you would have liked to win. It was honestly horrendous weather, so credit to all the fans who got out there for that one. Possession finishes 50-50. Defenders beaten, though, and clean breaks is all with the Dragons. Sharks was just really dominant up front, so the Sharks still look disjointed as well. I know the Sharks finished pretty good position on the log last year. They got a bunch of guys to come back from international duty, but Plumtree, man, your team needs to click. You got a bunch of talented dudes. Inisi finished with 7 defenders beaten. He's looking a good acquisition. Buthelezi, 20 tackles from him. That is that one. Connacht and the Scarlets likewise postponed due to the weather. Benetton and Glasgow did go ahead. I managed to watch this one. It's a little bit bleary in my memory after all the rugby at the weekend, though. It was a wee bit scrappy. and it had a dramatic finish, which is good for the Italian teams because both of their teams got dramatic finish wins this week. And the Dragons fans, if you want to see a team win it at the death via a drop goal, it was Benetton. Rhino Smith with a long-range drop goal at the death gets the winner. Admittedly, they did have penalty advantage, so he kind of had a free hand to slot the droppy. But real game of two halves. Glasgow 14 points in the first. Again, BENvGLA gets one close range. Josh Mackay gets one from a nice kind of line-out play with looks like they're going to shift left, and then next phase they go right. Mackay's got the gas. He goes over. And a missed penalty means they could have been 17-0 up, but it was 17-3 up, but it was 14-3 at halftime to Glasgow. So they'll be pretty gutted to score no points in the second, but Benetton, good comeback. Menoncello, nice, well-worked try. Quick hands from them, and he's got some gas himself. They also got held up on 64 minutes, did Benetton. So they could have been even a bit closer, and they actually managed the Canona yellow card period pretty well for a no-arms tackle. But, yeah, kept pressing at the death, and Rhino Smith with the long-range droppy gets the winner. It's pretty kind of classic stuff. Can make an ugly game look a bit prettier when you get the icing on the cake finish. Lamaro finished with 18 tackles. Josh Mackay, 103 metres, so both sides had their standout players, but Benetton had the turnovers won. Glasgow had all the attacking numbers, the clean breakers and the defenders beaten and whatnot, so yeah, as I said, Glasgow will be pretty disappointed, but not a bad time for the Italian sides. Bulls and Leinster, that's a replay of last year's final, albeit with very different teams. And the Bulls got it done, 39 points to 31, but Leinster actually started to look like Leinster again after getting nilled last week. And they started poorly. They had 2 tries conceded, like the Bulls on fire. Sebastian de Klerk, David Creel, getting the early tries, getting themselves into some pretty serious space. So 12-0 early lead for the Bulls guys, but Leinster got some points on the board through Prendergast, which was 19 minutes into the game. 2 games in, the second game into their season, but they did get some points on the board. But despite a yellow card to Will Connors for kind of head-on-head tackle, they actually started to look like Leinster again. Close range, relentless phases, Bulls conceding a penalty. Leinster going for the kind of tap in front. Deegan, nice pop pass. Clarkson gets the first try for them, so they get 10 points on the board. Although the Bulls scrum still looks good this season too. Started to go to work on Leinster, saw them get a penalty and some nice territory, which led to a Gumede try. So 22-10 at halftime. Leinster were facing a pretty big comeback. The Bulls were looking fairly comfortable, but Leinster got a much needed score in the second half, seemingly kind of nothing on, but when the back started flowing, Hugh Cooney, he was able to get one. So, Leinster kind of right back in the game, and there was a quick fire double. Leinster backing themselves from their own half, like not just going to kick exit. They wanted to run the thing out. Good hands, offloads, Deegan with a big carry, Tommy O'Brien. So, yeah, very, very slick stuff. Leinster actually went into the lead after, I don't want to say they were dead and buried, but they were pretty fairly well behind. They also had a Ryan Baird try TMO'd, if that would have been given. Who knows how this result goes, but the Bulls honestly did well. Willie LaRue comes off the bench and helps to shift the momentum. He's got a hand in their break out to get back down the other direction. He also finished off the try. There's a bit of handbags. Clearly the sides don't like each other, but Bulls back in front, 29-24. Leinster turn to win a penalty at scrum time. They go close range phases. Penny gets one. Leinster back in front. So it's all drama, but it's an insane game. The Bulls are able to get back. LaRue with a cross kick to set up Jacobs, and that really started with a Leinster kind of knock on at the restart. So the Bulls back in front. And then after another drop goal, this one's Prendergast, he misses a drop goal. He also throws a pass which gets intercepted by Creel. And that is game with the Bulls getting it done. So, yeah, crazy, crazy entertaining game. There was a missed penalty on 79 minutes for Leinster, which could have got them a losing bonus point. But they do get a bonus point for the 4 tries they scored. Handbags at the death. So, yeah, like I said, these two sides don't like each other a heck of a lot. Leinster with the possession and the territory, particularly in the second half. But clean breaks was pretty even, 8-9. Turnovers, 1 was in the Bulls' favour, 7-5. Like I said, their scrum was pretty solid. Deegan, heaps of carries. Creel, heaps of meters. Krobala, heaps of tackles. So, yeah, that's a game of the week one, I think, if you wanted to watch one. Cardiff and Munster, I've only caught the highlights. But Clayton McMillan's boys, 2 wins from 2, but Cardiff, if they'd kicked their conversions, scored 4 tries to Munster's 3. but lose it by 3 points. Seems like it was Cardiff maybe getting a bit more of their flow on. I'm not sure. You guys who watched the game in full will have to give me a bit of an education. I've only seen the highlights. So as I said, the first try through Munster through Quinn looked to have a potential bit of a forward pass in it as well, which will have people talking. But Josh Adams got the first for Cardiff, and then Tom Bowen got 3 in the second half. But as I said, none of them converted. Some of them were pretty nice, like one on the left wing. Callum Sheedy with his little dinking kicks through, setting up tries. Seemed to be pretty slick. Munster, Coombs close range. It goes very kind of stereotypical because that's what he does. And then Barron with a 5-metre tap. And then Crowley with a drop goal. Drop goals galore and attempts this week. That is the difference maker. It made it an 8-point game. So Munster were kind of able to see out the end comfortably enough, but yeah, there was that late Cardiff try to at least get them a 4-try and a losing bonus point, so they get 2 points out of that game. They had more clean breaks, 6-3, more defenders beaten, 14-12, but yeah, it's Munster who are 2 from 2. And then ZEBvLIO against the Lions. 2 Italian wins this week. As I said, ZEBvLIO back-to-back winners, 22 points to 20 over the Lions, 12-3 at halftime. ZEBvLIO scored a cracker of a try through STOvOSP early. That was a proper ZEBvLIO rugby try using the width of the pitch. And then 2 tries through their forwards, DeBartolomeo and Nochera, Maul, and then a kind of close range one. The Lions did have a wee comeback in the second half. They scored 2 tries during a ZEBvLIO yellow card through Kotze and Kaita. And then Brandon got one on 74. Morne Brandon, which looked to have potentially sealed the game. But on 79 minutes, Nochera's try put ZEBvLIO tied up, and then the conversion was the winner for them. So yeah, ZEBvLIO had a try chalked off as well, so they're looking decent enough value this year. Kind of long may that continue. How does the table stand after all that? Bulls, Stormers, Munster and ZEBvLIO are your top 4. ZEBvLIO a bit of a surprise package. Cardiff, Glasgow, Ulster and Connacht, the other 4 sides in the playoff spots, although Ulster and Connacht obviously still a game behind with the postponements. Benetton, Edinburgh, Sharks and Dragons. The Edinburgh are the top of the sides that haven't had a win yet. Remember, they've also only got the 1 game played. Lions, Ospreys, Leinster, and then Scarlets, who are yet to register a point. You guys let us know your thoughts on how the week that went. Do you see much shift in these kind of early seasons prospects? Obviously, you expect Leinster to get on form sooner rather than later. How long can ZEBvLIO's run go? You guys take care. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.